My name is Adeline Townsend. I'm 30 years old. And for 26 of those years, I believed one thing about my life. That I was adopted. Not maybe. Not possibly. But completely. It wasn't a secret. It was a story. A story my mother repeated so often. It stopped sounding like information. And started sounding like identity. You're special, she would say. We chose you. She said it at the dinner table. She said it in the car. She said it when I asked for things. And the answer was no. Tyler needs it more. Tyler. My older brother. 3 years older. Biological. Important. He had the bigger room. The better clothes. The college fund. I had. Gratitude. That's what I was taught. Be grateful. Because I was chosen. And chosen meant something. It meant I didn't belong the same way. It meant I had to earn my place. Every single day. I didn't question it. Not after I was 12. That was the one time I asked. Do you know anything about my real parents? My mother cried for 2 hours. Sat on the kitchen floor. Mascara running. Telling me I had broken her heart. My father walked in. Looked at her. Then looked at me. And said, "What did you do?" I was 12. I asked a question. I never asked again. Not at 13. Not at 16. Not at 22. Not even on my graduation day. When no one from my birth family showed up. Because I had already been trained. Curiosity was betrayal. So I stopped being curious. I focused on something else. Control. I put myself through college. Scholarships. Night shifts. Ramen noodles. Clinical laboratory science. The kind of degree where you don't guess. You confirm. You verify. You prove things. Every day, I worked with DNA. Paternity tests. Genetic screenings. I told strangers the truth about their lives. Based on data. I watched families fall apart. Over results printed on paper. But I never ran my own test. Never even considered it. Because I already had my answer. I was adopted. End of story. Except. It wasn't. Every family has a center. A place where decisions are made. And never questioned. In my family. That place was Nana Ruth's house. 40 acres of land. A white farmhouse. And a long oak table. Where we sat every Sunday at 1 p.m. Same seats. Same rules. You ate what she served. You spoke when allowed. And you never questioned anything. 6 months before everything changed. She called a family meeting. Formal. Important. She was dividing her land. 15 acres to Tyler. 10 acres to my cousin Megan. And the rest. To the church. She finished speaking. Closed her folder. And that was it. Like the decision had already been made years ago. I raised my hand. Not dramatic. Just small. What about me? She looked at me calmly. Not angry. Not dismissive. Worse. Certain. The land stays in the bloodline, sweetheart. You understand. 10 people at that table. No one spoke. No one questioned it. No one even looked at me. I nodded. Said thank you. And left. Sat in my car for 11 minutes. Not crying. Not angry. Just empty. Because something didn't make sense. But I didn't have the words yet. I just had a feeling. Like something was slightly off. Like a number that didn't quite add up. The only person who ever treated me differently was Uncle David. Quiet man. Worked with his hands. Didn't talk much. But he showed up. Every time. When I was 8. He gave me a necklace. A small silver locket. Inside. One letter. A. That's for you, he said. Nobody else. I wore it every day. For 22 years. I thought it was just kindness. I thought he felt sorry for me. I was wrong. 3 months before everything changed. My father had a stroke. Mild. But serious enough. I was at the hospital when he came in. I work there. I got to his room before anyone else. I was standing by his bed. When my mother walked in. She looked at me. Then turned to the nurse. And said. She's not next of kin. She's adopted. I make the decisions. 11 words. That told me exactly where I stood. Again. I stepped back. Walked out. Didn't argue. Didn't explain. Because I already knew how this worked. I was included. Until it mattered. That night. Marcus asked me something simple. Have you ever actually seen your adoption papers? I opened my mouth to answer. Then stopped. Because I hadn't. Not once. And that's where everything began. April. Megan's wedding. Small town. Big event. Everyone was there. Family at the front tables. I was at table 9. Across the room. Exactly where I always was. Present. But not included. The night went on. Music. Speeches. Laughter. Normal. Until it wasn't. Around 9 p.m. My Aunt Lorraine stopped at my table. She had been drinking. But not enough. To forget what she was saying. She looked at me. Then at my necklace. Then back at me. And said something quietly. 7 words. You know you look exactly like David, right? I laughed. Automatic. People say things like that. But she didn't laugh. She leaned closer. No, honey, she said. Exactly like him. Across the room? David froze. My mother started walking toward us. Too fast. Too late. Because something had already happened. Not outside. Inside. A question. One I had buried for 26 years. Suddenly came back. And this time. I didn't ignore it. That night. At 11:47 p.m. I ordered a DNA test. And I had no idea. That decision would destroy 3 families. In 5 days, I didn't open the DNA kit right away. Not because I wasn't ready. Because something about it felt final. Like once I did it, there would be no going back. The box sat on my kitchen counter for almost 12 hours. Small. White. Light enough to ignore. Heavy enough to change everything. At 6:30 the next morning, I picked it up. Coffee in one hand. Instructions in the other. Swab. Seal. Send. I had done this thousands of times. Just not for myself. 60 seconds. That's all it took. 60 seconds. To question 26 years. I sealed the tube. Wrote my name on the label. Townsend, Adeline M. Dropped it in the mailbox on my way to work. And just like that. The waiting began. 7 to 10 days. That's what the box said. But something told me it wouldn't take that long. At work, nothing changed. At least on the surface. I processed samples, ran panels, logged results. Same routine. Same precision. But something inside me was different. Because now, every sample I touched felt personal. Every result felt closer. On the third day, my mother called. That alone was unusual. She never called just to talk. What's going on? I asked. Nothing, she said quickly. Too quickly. I just wanted to hear your voice. I pulled the phone away from my ear. Looked at the screen. Same number. Same name. Different tone. Are you okay? I asked. I'm fine, she replied. Then, I've been thinking about you. That was new. Unfamiliar. And wrong. The call ended after 2 minutes. No purpose. No direction. Just checking. Or confirming something. The next day, Tyler texted me. Mom's acting weird. I frowned. What do you mean? She cleaned out the hall closet. I read that again. The hall closet. Top shelf. Old boxes. Things no one touched. For years. Why now? The next day, Nana Ruth called. In 30 years. She had called me exactly twice. Once for bad news. Once for instructions. Now, she was inviting me to Sunday dinner. It's been too long, she said. Her voice softer than usual. We miss you. I said yes. Because now, I needed answers. That night, Marcus said something that stayed with me. They're not checking on you, he said. They're reacting to something. I nodded slowly. Because I felt it too. Like something had already started. And I was just catching up. Day 6. 6:12 a.m. My phone buzzed. One notification. Your DNA results are ready. I sat up instantly. No hesitation. No delay. I opened my laptop. Logged in. Clicked the results. The page loaded slowly. Too slowly. First. Ethnicity. Northern European. Expected. Nothing surprising. Then. DNA relatives. And everything stopped. First match. David Townsend. Relationship. Parent. 50% shared DNA. I stared at the screen. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. Parent. Not uncle. Not relative. Parent. I read it again. Then again. Then a third time. Because that's what I do. I verify. I confirm. I don't react. Until I'm certain. And I was certain. David was my father. I wasn't adopted. I never was. The story I had lived my entire life was a lie. I scrolled down. Another match. Sophie Keller. 24% shared DNA. Half sibling. My hands went cold. Not one lie. Multiple. I sat there for 4 minutes. Not moving. Not thinking. Just processing. Like I do at work. Only this time, the result was mine. I closed the laptop. Then opened it again. Because denial doesn't last long. When the data is clear. I messaged Sophie. Simple. Hi, I think we might be related. Her reply came in less than an hour. I've been waiting for this. That sentence said everything. We spoke that night. Her voice was careful, measured, like someone who had learned to protect her words. She told me her story. Her mother never named her father. Just said. He left. But he didn't. He stayed. Just not with her. And not with me. 2 daughters. 2 different lives. Same silence. That's not a mistake, she said quietly. That's a system. She was right. And systems don't exist without people protecting them. The next day, I went to my parents' house. Not to confront. To confirm. I told my dad I needed paperwork. Adoption records, I said. He didn't question it. Just told me where to look. The hall closet. Top shelf. Exactly where Tyler said. I climbed up. Moved the boxes. And found it. A sealed envelope. Old. Yellowed edges. Hidden. But not gone. I sat on the bed. Opened it slowly. No adoption papers. No agency records. Nothing official. Instead, a birth certificate. My name. My mother's name. Linda. Father. Blank. And beneath it, a letter. Handwritten. Dated. July 1996. I read it once. Then again. Then a third time. Because I needed to be sure. Every word was clear. This is the story we tell. She is adopted. No one questions the church. Do not let David near her. Signed. Ruth. My hands didn't shake. Because I wasn't surprised anymore. I was just confirmed. 26 years. One story. Designed. Maintained. Protected. I took pictures of everything. Put it back exactly where it was. And walked out. My dad looked up. Find what you needed? I nodded. Yeah. But what I had found wasn't paperwork. It was truth. And now, I had everything. The DNA. The letter. The proof. There was only one thing left. The truth. Had to be said out loud. And I knew exactly where it would happen. Sunday. At that table. In front of everyone. Because lies that live in public deserve to die in public. Sunday came faster than it should have. Or maybe I just noticed time differently now. Because when you know something everyone else is hiding, every minute feels sharper. More defined. More real. I drove to Nana Ruth's house alone. Same road. Same turns. Nothing had changed. And that was the problem. Everything looked the same. While everything underneath it had shifted. The house came into view. White siding. Wraparound porch. Cars already in the driveway. Everyone was there. Of course they were. They always were. Because routine is how secrets survive. I sat in my car for a moment. Hands on the steering wheel. Not nervous. Not afraid. Just steady. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't walking in to belong. I was walking in to expose. Inside, the house smelled the same. Roast chicken. Fresh bread. Comfort. Manufactured. My mother saw me first. Her smile appeared instantly. Too quickly. Too perfectly. You made it, she said. Like there had ever been a question. I said I would, I replied. She studied my face for a second. Like she was looking for something. A crack. A sign. But there wasn't one. Not anymore. At the table. Everything was exactly where it always was. Same seats. Same plates. Same rules. Tyler sat across from me. Relaxed. Unaware. Nana Ruth at the head. Controlled. Watching everything. And David. Sat halfway down the table. Quiet. As always. But not still. Not today. He looked at me once. Then looked away. That was enough. Because now I knew. He knew. Dinner started. Normal. Too normal. Small talk. Updates. Weather. Work. The kind of conversation people have when they're avoiding something. Halfway through dinner, I stood up. No announcement. No warning. Just movement. 10 people at the table. Every conversation stopped. Every eye turned. What are you doing? My mother asked. I didn't answer her. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out the folder. Set it on the table. Flat. Visible. This is mine, I said. Simple. Clear. No emotion. What is that? Tyler asked. I opened it. Turned it around. And slid it toward the center of the table. The DNA results. First page. Bold. Undeniable. David Townsend. Parent. Silence. Not confusion. Recognition. Because some truths don't need explanation. They just need confirmation. My mother's face changed. Not slowly. Instantly. Like something she had been holding together. Finally broke. This isn't funny, she said. I didn't look at her. I looked at David. He didn't speak. Didn't move. Just stared at the table. This is a lab result, I said calmly. Not an opinion. No one interrupted. Because they couldn't. Then I placed the second paper down. The letter. Handwritten. Dated. This is the story we tell. I read it out loud. Every word. Slowly. Clearly. No room for interpretation. No one questions the church. Do not let David near her. Signed. Ruth. I looked up. At the head of the table. Nana Ruth. For the first time in my life. She didn't look certain. She looked old. What is this? Tyler asked. His voice sharp. Confused. Ask her, I said. And I nodded toward Nana. All eyes turned. She didn't speak right away. Didn't deny it. Didn't correct anything. She just sat there. Hands folded. And finally. She said. It was necessary. The room shifted. What do you mean? Tyler asked. She exhaled slowly. Your father made a mistake. And just like that. Everything came out. Not all at once. But enough. Enough to break the illusion. David finally spoke. I was 19, he said quietly. His voice wasn't defensive. It wasn't emotional. It was tired. She was married, he added. Silence. My mother stood up. That is not what happened, she snapped. But no one looked at her. Because now. Everyone was listening to him. I didn't leave, David said. I was told to. His eyes moved to Nana. And I listened. That part mattered. Because it meant something else. This wasn't just a lie. It was control. Years of it. And everyone at that table had been part of it. Some actively. Some silently. Both counted. And me? I asked. My voice didn't shake. Because I already knew the answer. What was I? No one answered. Because there wasn't a good answer. Finally. Nana said. You were protected. I almost smiled. Because that word had been used my entire life. Protected. Chosen. Special. Different words. Same meaning. Controlled. No, I said. I was managed. That landed harder. Because it was true. And truth doesn't need volume. It just needs clarity. I picked up my bag. Looked around the table one last time. 10 people. A lifetime of silence. And now? Nothing left to hide behind. You don't get to tell my story anymore, I said. No anger. No emotion. Just final. And then I walked out. Not fast. Not dramatic. Just done. Because the moment truth is spoken, the lie loses its power. Even if the people holding it don't let go. Outside. The air felt different. Not lighter. Real. And for the first time in 26 years, I wasn't living someone else's version of my life. I was living mine. But this wasn't the end. Because the truth doesn't just expose the past. It changes the future. And mine was about to change again after I walked out of Nana Ruth's house. No one followed me. No one called my name. No one tried to stop me. And that told me everything. Because silence had always been their way of dealing with truth. I got in my car. Closed the door. And just sat there. Not crying. Not shaking. Just still. Because something inside me had finally settled. Not pain. Not anger. Clarity. And once you have that, everything else becomes simple. That night, my phone stayed quiet. No messages. No calls. Not from my mother. Not from Tyler. Not even from David. But I didn't expect anything. Because the kind of truth I had just spoken doesn't get answered immediately. It gets processed. Or avoided. The next morning, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something told me to answer. Adeline? It was him. David. His voice sounded different. Not distant. Not quiet. Just uncertain. I didn't know if you'd pick up, he said. I almost didn't, I replied. Silence. I'm sorry, he said. 2 words. Late. But real. I didn't respond right away. Because apologies don't fix 26 years. I should have told you, he continued. Yes, I said. I wanted to, he added. But wanting doesn't matter if you don't act. Another silence. He didn't argue. Didn't defend himself. Because he knew. What happens now, he asked. That was the first honest question. I don't know, I said. And for the first time, that answer didn't scare me. Because not knowing is better than living a lie. A week passed. Then 2. Then 3. No contact from the rest of the family. But something else started happening. Small things. Quiet things. My Aunt Lorraine sent me a message. I should have said something sooner. My cousin Megan. Just one sentence. I'm sorry. Not loud. Not dramatic. But real. Because once the truth is out, people start choosing sides. And not everyone chooses silence. Then one afternoon, a letter arrived. Handwritten. Familiar. Nana Ruth. I opened it slowly. Not because I was afraid. Because I wanted to understand. Every word. I did what I thought was right. That's how it started. No apology. No ownership. Just justification. The family needed stability. The church needed reputation. And you needed structure. I read that line twice. You needed structure. I folded the paper carefully. Because now I understood something clearly. She didn't regret what she did. She regretted that it was exposed. And those are not the same thing. I didn't reply. Because some conversations don't deserve continuation. A month later, David asked to meet. Neutral place. A small cafe. No history. No pressure. I almost said no. But something inside me said, go. He was already there when I arrived. Coffee untouched. Hands folded. Nervous. I don't expect anything from you, he said. Good. Because I wasn't offering anything yet. I just want you to know. He paused. I never stopped thinking about you. I looked at him. Studied his face. Not as an uncle. As something else. Something I had been denied my entire life. That's not the same as being there, I said. I know, he replied. And I can't change that. We sat in silence for a moment. Not uncomfortable. Just real. Then he said something I didn't expect. I want to fix what I can. I raised an eyebrow slightly. How? He took a breath. The land. I didn't move. Nana is revising the will. That got my attention. She's removing the church allocation, he continued. And splitting it between all of us. All of us. Including me. Not as a favor. As correction. That's her decision? I asked. He nodded. For the first time. She doesn't have control of the narrative. That made sense. Because truth changes power. Even for people who spent their entire lives holding it. I'm not asking you to forgive me, he said. Or to call me anything. I just don't want to lie anymore. That part mattered. Not the past. The future. I nodded slowly. That's a start. And it was. Not a repair. Not a resolution. A start. Months later, I stood on that land again. 40 acres. Same farmhouse. Same table. But everything felt different. Because now, nothing was hidden. I walked the property line alone. Just like he used to show me. Old iron stakes. Still there. Still marking the truth. Everything has boundaries. You just have to know where they are. And now. I did. Because the biggest thing I learned wasn't about my family. Or DNA. Or inheritance. It was this. The truth doesn't destroy your life. It reveals it. And once you see it clearly, you get to decide what stays. And what doesn't. For me, the lie didn't stay. But neither did the version of myself that accepted it. And that was worth everything.